Hi, I'm James from Chaosium. When I sat down with Rick Meints, we got talking about the less often thought about elements of tabletop role playing game book design. Things like the color of the hardcover case or the feel of the leather that's used. We talk about all that and more inside this interview, but before we jump across to it, remember to subscribe to the Chaosium YouTube channel. It helps us out and it lets us make more content like this. Thanks.
Some of them seem kind of mundane, but we try to think them through a little bit. Like I was the guy that, I got to buy a whole bunch of these Pantone color swatches, which is kind of a real racket because Pantone charges like over $300 for just this set of swatches. But it is the industry standard. And so when I want to pick the Call of Cthulhu starter set dice, which we want to keep the price economical, so we obviously didn't get the highest end dice in there, solid, hard wearing, but we wanted to pick a color of green. I'm the guy that says, okay, I want this shade of green dice, and I had to find the Pantone color and tell the dice manufacturer we want Pantone color X for our dice. And so it's an interesting thing, at least to me. And so I enjoy things like that. Just like when I was with leatherettes and having to work with what colors we wanted for those, the printing reps send me these little swatches and stuff like that. And I'm the one that says, I think we'll go with this version of SVIPA or Scurvtex, all these terms that I never heard of before I started dealing with leatherettes, but picking a color and something that's quality and affordable and looks great on the shelf because we have a lot of collectors in particular that like having a whole series of leatherettes. Bless them. Love those kind of customers. A lot of them buy direct, which is even better. And so I work with things like that for colors and swatches, and I enjoy it. I certainly have a number of Chaosium products on the shelf that I call "What were they thinking" products, because it's like that's a really weird color choice. Mustard would not have been my first choice of color for this cover, or why did they choose brown ink when it makes the art look really washed out? Sometimes they were trying to be trend setting. Most of the time Chaosium succeeded. They succeeded incredibly in the early days, being innovative and creative and expanding the market and making role-playing games so much wider than just a book with numbers and words in it. But every now and then they definitely had some missed notes, and it's interesting to see those and be the guy that helps make some of those decisions. And I hope I'm not the one that says, why did Rick choose mustard for the color of this kind of thing?
Absolutely. Well, on that note, you've got to make a lot of decisions when you're doing your work about which color to pick. And I know that you have to think of more things than just what you like. What is your favorite style of book? Is there an overrunning trend in some of the products that you collect where you think if they have this color print, if they have this style of being put together, that you really enjoy? What's the kind of product that you really love?
If I put on my old school hat, the classic Chaosium look with Helvetica headers and Times main text, it brings me back to when I was 13, 14, 15-year old in high school buying these books and playing the adventures, and it makes me feel close to that age again. And so I like that look. But in terms of what we produce today, it blows that away. Things like Children of Fear with the hardcover, full color art, silk book ribbon, gloss paper, you know, production values that are way beyond anything we did in the 80s or 90s, or really up until about 2016 with the seventh edition rule book and the investigator handbook. That's when we really turned the corner on quality. And it was also what was competitive in the marketplace. And I respect that. These are beautiful books, whether you want to play them or read them. They're just wonderful to flip through with, talented artists and cartographers, good writing. It's very visual and evocative. It kind of draws you into the story way beyond what the original products that I grew up with in the late 70s, early 80s ever did. So I have a foot in each camp. I don't have a problem with that. We want to appeal to both. Why not? The grognards, if you want to call them that, get to buy the stuff that they grew up with and love and have a fresh copy to put on the shelf next to the battered copy that they've been thumbing through for the last 35 or 40 years. And that's great. And we have the newer stuff coming out that sits on the shelf next to name any other RPG company, be it D&D or Pathfinder or whatever else. We stand toe to toe with them in terms of quality. And that's good because that's what we need when we're in game stores. People expect a high quality product. And we always had the writing of high quality. We had great editors like Lynn Willis, who were legendary as an editor. And we had some really great artists, especially Gene Day and a number of others. I could go on and on, the number of artists we had. But when it came to certain production values, Chaosium went the cheap a little bit. And I understand why. They wanted to keep their prices reasonable. They were trying to grow their audience, and that's great. And they were successful in doing that for decades. But we are in a situation where we have to compete with companies bigger than us because we want to become a premier game company, not just in quality, but in exposure in the market and size of audience.